Don't worry. This show is documented. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Well, look, I promised to take your calls in this hour, but I also want to hear from Lindsey Williams because he was telling me during the break, I've never heard him this concerned, saying, listen, Alex, I got a lot more to tell you. We haven't even gotten to the real meat and potatoes yet. Well, I thought that was the meat and potatoes. Again, I don't want to hear what he's about to say next because they are acting freaked out about this, and that sucker is a lot bigger than what they first said, and they just can't cap it. They won't cap it. Then you got the federal response, not letting the states respond to it. I'm really afraid Obama's going to get his carbon tax through this crisis. Like Rahm Emanuel said, don't let any crisis go to waste. But Terry in Ohio says they're a petroleum engineer for 12 years, worked with Halliburton. You know, I don't know why I haven't called petroleum engineers that I personally know. I mean, I guess early on I thought, okay, petroleum spill, yeah, big deal, media distraction, but it is getting crazier and crazier. So we're going to go back to Lindsey Williams. He's sitting here with us, but going to Terry. Terry, what's your take on all this?
Well, Alex, you know, I've been talking about this ever since I heard it happen, and I've told people right from the very beginning. First of all, I even told my wife the only way you're going to be able to stop anything, since you got all the wreckage and pipe and everything else down on top on the well site. It'll be scattered all over the place down there because it floated to the bottom. But you had things that was connected to it also that's going to kind of like bring it down and move some pieces depending on how it fell down on the bottom. But I even said then that the only option that you would have would be to set off a small nuclear bomb. But, you know, the thing about it is, you know, to like seal the well, you know, to create like, you know, cauterize it. But see, first of all, you know, like I was telling others, you know, you got to look at, you're at 5,000 feet deep in water. Well, you know, you're almost at temperature level down there is almost, you know, close to sub-zero. You know what I mean? It's really cold down there. And then you got to figure the pounds per square inch of your salt water that weighs over 9 pounds per gallon, and then you got to figure at 5,000 feet deep, the weight there. So so you got the weight of the water, the pressure at 5,000 feet, you got the temperature factor. So you got to overcome all those. So trying to determine what size nuke to use to cauterize this thing is almost impossible to figure. And here's something else you got to look at.
Well, let me ask you this question, though, and we'll get Lindsey's take on it. If you've got all these fissures, they've now confirmed, at least 2, they believe 3 or more, 3, 4, 5, 6 miles away, pluming up, is the high pressure now blowing out the casing and eroding into other channels in the rock and the seabed and coming up? And will this blast a bigger and bigger opening and potentially get worse?
Well, I figure what actually really started the fissures, I mean, they was already began when you had the blowout, because you had the different safety measures in place, even though, you know, your blowout preventers and different things like that, they're going to hold back pressure on that. So when that began to blow out, the well practically fracked itself as far as opening up, you know, directional fractures, because it's always going to go to the point of least resistance, okay? So, but...
Yeah, and I've heard these terms, fracking. I mean, define fracking, but then expanding on that. What did you think about what Lindsey said about the pressure of this well that he's getting from insiders?
I agree with it, because when you're going that deep into the Earth's mantle, it would be very easy to come in contact with an oil source, an oil and gas source, but at the same time, the extreme pressures are coming from, you know, you got your molten lava and all that stuff pushing up from the center of the Earth, so you got all those inner Earth pressures.
Well, that's another thing. They could have gone into a batholith. For those that don't know, that's a magma bubble up into the higher levels of the crust.
Yeah, and you know that's true too, Alex, because I'll tell you why. It's just like I was explaining to my wife and others. You know how they're finding these like tar patties and things like that on the sands in Pensacola, Florida, and those places?
Yeah.
Okay. What causes that is this. Not only do you have extreme pressure, but that oil and gas mixture is heated, and it is so hot, okay, that it's coming up out of the ground under extreme pressure, and then when it hits that cold water, it begins to cool. It's just like a lava flow as soon as it hits the ocean.
Exactly. Now, and then all the brown stuff coming up, is that sand, dirt being propelled out? We're going to come back with Lindsey Williams. This gets worse by the minute, folks. I tell you, I'm late getting to the party on this one.
We're on the march. The empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.